Volkswagen kicks off 2016 with the launch of the new Tiguan. It's the carmaker's first SUV based on the new platform, which is lighter, more efficient, and more spacious. But it's not just the car's exterior that's changed. The all-wheel drive is now electronically controlled, explains our car reviewer Klaus. At the slightest hint of wheel slippage, power is transferred away from that wheel to where there's traction. In some cases, that could mean only one wheel being driven, which is pretty impressive. That's because the new Tiguan comes with the latest generation of VW's 4Motion all-wheel drive system. Normally, it's a front-wheel drive. But as soon as there's any loss of traction, the rear axle is brought into play. So instead of a fixed distribution, drive power is adapted to the driving conditions. The steering system is electromechanical. That means you have a pretty good feel for the road. You also get feedback from the tires through the steering. Klaus also likes the super light touch. The new Tiguan is not only longer and wider, it also feels a lot sportier. It's due to go on sale in Europe in late April and will come with a choice of a 2-liter TSI gasoline engine and a 2-liter TDI diesel unit. The new Tiguan boasts 132 kilowatts of power and, according to VW, uses 7.4 liters of gas per 100 kilometers. We're testing the Highline version, which includes all the features available. Klaus now leaves the open road, as beautiful as it was, and heads to a driving circuit in Sweden, where he can up the pace and push the boundaries. So now Klaus is going to put his foot down over the hump and the rear comes up, which is normal as he's switched off all the electronic aids. As you can see, the car is swerving from right to left, and our man at the wheel is loving every minute of it. I can really control the drift of the car well, he says. It's really fun to drive. It's not a sports car as such, but a sporty SUV. Volkswagen wants to build a whole family of Tiguan models, featuring the new design elements. In addition to a larger, longer version for overseas markets in Asia and the US, there are plans for a new crossover lifestyle model. Plus, the new electric version of the motor also tops the list of features. Klaus's assessment of the Tiguan is simple. There's 3 O's: off-road and on-road. It's perfect. And the new Tiguan is online too. The new multimedia system works really well. Handling is great and very safe. What more could you ask for? The new edition of the Kalina is intended to give Russian carmaker Lada a foothold in the European station wagon segment, and on the price front it's certainly making an impact. Among its direct rivals is the Fabia Combi. In Germany, the Skoda sells for prices starting at just over 13,000 euros. Dacia's Logan MCV is considerably cheaper. The basic version costs just under 8,000 euros. But they're both undercut by the Kalina. The entry-level model costs 7,750 euros in Germany. But just how much car can you expect for that price tag? People have certain basic requirements, explains our carman Andre. Number 1 is, no, not driving. It's drinking. But when you get to the store, is regular water enough? Or should he get a trendy isotonic drink? Well, Andre faces a similar question with this test car, the Lada Kalina. Basically, it has everything you need for mobility, but you might regret buying one later because you actually wanted a little more. The design might not be to the taste of drivers who like their car to be on the fashionable side either, But there's certainly no shame in owning a Kalina. Plus, it's just the right height for easy access. The interior, however, is a bit like a trip back in time. The reduced design and the display elements in the dashboard are so 1990s. The trunk has sufficient cargo space, while the cup holders and stowage spaces in the doors will likewise cover requirements. The designers weren't so creative when it came to the interior, reckons Andre. There's hard plastic everywhere. What he does like are the knobs here, which are easy to operate. What he really doesn't like is the parking brake. For starters, it doesn't look too slick, and when he pushes it down, it doesn't snap into place. Andre finds it irritating.
Ich weiß auch nicht, das stört mich einfach.
The Kalina is powered by a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine with outputs of 64 or 72 kilowatts. We checked out the latter version, which in Germany sells for 9,690 euros. So, the Lada Kalina felt a bit like driving a used car built in 2000. You do have power steering and power windows, but the noise inside is rather overbearing, more than normal.
Ja, etwas penetrant, man hört mehr als bei anderen Autos, die Schaltung.
The gear shifts are a little slack, but Andre does have a highlight, the seat heating, which gets him very warm, very fast.
Die Sitzheizung, die wird schnell ordentlich warm.
And the best thing about the seat heating, it's part of the standard equipment. From the outside, the Kalina seems a little tall, and that's confirmed in the handling. The car tends to sway, and is not exactly on the sporty side. And for German roads, the suspension travel is perhaps a little excessive. But if you're on rougher roads or a forest path, he'll be okay with the Kalina.
Dann denke ich, ist man mit dem Kalina ziemlich gut bedient.
Summing up, the Kalina has standard fitted power windows, seat heating and other features which you wouldn't expect for the price. But in other areas, you immediately see where Lada cut costs. That said, the Kalina is certainly worth considering for thrifty car buyers. So basically, says Andre, the Lada Kalina has everything to cover your basic mobility needs, although he personally would want a little more. Volvo has given the V40 a facelift. The 2017 model year comes with new headlights, borrowed from the XC90. Buyers now also have the option of the T4 gasoline engine with 140 kilowatts. Otherwise, there are 4 more gasoline-powered units and 3 common rail turbo diesels to choose from. Subaru presents the new generation of its compact SUV XV with a selection of 3 engines and 5 equipment versions. The entry-level model is powered by a 1.6-liter gasoline engine and costs just short of 20,000 euros in Germany. As usual with Subaru, the XV comes standard fitted with the permanent, symmetrical all-wheel drive. How many Porsches are there, wonders Reinhold? Over 50. There's the Cayman, the Boxster, the 911, the Panamera, the Cayenne, and the Macan. Then there's all the different versions, such as the S, diesel, convertible, and all-wheel. And here comes the souped-up GTS version of the cute little Cayman. GTS stands for Gran Turismo Sport, and it does not disappoint. The 6-cylinder boxer engine in the GTS is based on the 3.4-liter engine from the Cayman S. It's been tuned up to now generate 250 kilowatts of power. The Cayman GTS makes the dash to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.9 seconds. If you order the optional dual clutch transmission, you save a further 0.3 of a second. Official fuel consumption is 9 liters of super unleaded for 100 kilometers. Driving at pace will add a good couple of liters to that figure. It will also put you over the manufacturer's CO2 rating of 211 grams per kilometer. The Cayman GTS has plenty of power, and having a mid-engine has its benefits in terms of handling, weight distribution, and sound. The Cayman GTS is as much a joy to hear as it is to drive. And it comes with 2 trunks, at the front and back. Together, they can pack in 425 liters of cargo, which matches a VW Golf. So you can do a decent supermarket shop with a Cayman and split your groceries between front and back. It will get a tad tight with furniture, however. Bulkier items will have to fit on the front passenger seat. The front cabin is adorned with GTS logos practically everywhere you care to look. Among the standard features is the sports exhaust. A button on the center console allows the driver to change the sound. The Cayman GTS is standard fitted with a Sport Chrono package. It includes dynamic transmission mounts which change in stiffness and damping depending on the current driving situation. A harder setting, for example, will minimize rear movement when entering a bend. The result is greater stability and precision in the handling. When you shift down in Sport Plus mode, explains Reinhold, the Cayman GTS automatically adjusts the revs with manual transmission too. The aim is to stabilize the car around bends. The GTS costs 10,000 euros more than the Cayman S, which is a lot of money, but it also costs 20,000 euros less than the 911 Carrera and is just as sporty. In a head-on collision, enormous forces are brought to bear on both passengers and cargo. That's especially the case when 2 different-sized cars collide, as in this crash test from 2008. The small Fiat has no chance against the big Audi. Test engineer Andreas Radzek says vehicles were always tested against each other in the past. That meant it was difficult to pinpoint the weaknesses of each car. So a new test procedure is being introduced to analyze how a vehicle's front section behaves in a head-on collision. The car will collide with a basic chassis attached to an aluminum block that crumples on impact. The damage done to the block can then be measured. The idea is to optimize the front sections of all vehicles so they act like a protective shield, absorbing the energy of the impact and protecting the other car too. Tests like these are already being done in the U.S., he says, and European cars haven't scored well in them. Japanese cars fare better. The front sections of their vehicles are designed so they perform better in crash situations. European automakers are only now starting to improve their cars. The Japanese were much quicker off the mark.
Anfangen, die Fahrzeugfronten zu verbessern. Die Japaner sind da deutlich zügiger unterwegs.
The German Automobile Club tested 3 lower mid-range vehicles and achieved similar test results. They show important differences in the design of the car's front sections, with varying impact on the other party involved in the crash. The VW Golf only has a rigid front longitudinal member that bores into the other vehicle during impact. The Renault Megane distributes the forces better, but it's still not optimal. The Honda Civic has a well-designed crumple zone. Here, the force of impact is spread over a wide area. This is the damage left by the VW Golf. This is where the front longitudinal section plowed in. It's left a huge hole. That's why the block has been gashed so badly. The longitudinal member is like a stiletto heel when you stand on someone's foot. The entire weight is concentrated on that one point, creating much greater injury than a sports shoe, for example, where the weight is distributed, thereby reducing the pain.
Als zum Beispiel ein Turnschuh, der die Kraft besser verteilt.
This is the damage left by the Honda Civic. You can see the block has been deformed over a wide area, but there are no major holes. And you can see that it hasn't been crushed that badly, so it could still absorb a lot more energy.
Das heißt also, da würde noch einiges an Energie reinpassen.
So Honda is certainly on the right path with the Civic. This computer animation shows how little the impact would be if two vehicles like this, that distribute the force of impact through front crossbars, were involved in a head-on collision. The passenger compartment would remain largely protected. The weaknesses in the crumple zone shown by the test could easily be improved with a few design changes. What's needed is for this test to become part of the standard European assessment process, known as Euro NCAP. Improving vehicle design in this way could reduce the number of people killed in accidents by up to 7%. Today, Christoph Bauer is going for a spin in a very special VW Beetle, at the time considered the Volkswagen for high society. It's a Romech Bisco. At one time, it was common practice to buy just a drivable chassis from a car maker and then have the body custom made. Christoph explains that before World War II, Romech mainly built taxis on Opel chassis. During the war, the company had to concentrate on producing field kitchens. It was only in the 1950s that it was able to return to its area of expertise and started building exclusive convertibles and four-door taxis out of the still new VW Beetle. Romech designer Johannes Bisco began tinkering with a special body of his own. The result so impressed the boss that he took it into volume production.
Dieses Ding, das bauen wir in Serie.
Romech became one of the first coach builders to mass-produce a special edition vehicle. With its low cost and robust engineering, the Beetle provided the ideal platform. It touched off a veritable do-it-yourself boom among coach builders. Porsche utilized technology from VW for its first mass-produced 356s. Müller and Beutler built cars virtually of their own design on Beetle chassis, and VW eventually itself followed suit with a luxury coupe in the shape of the Cayman Gia. Christoph recalls how the Romech Special Sports convertible was unveiled at the German Automobile Exhibition in Berlin in 1950, where the public crowded around to see it. Hollywood stars like Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck were among those who added the luxury VWs from Berlin to their collections. With sales booming, Romech opened showrooms in Munich, Zurich, Padua, Stockholm, and even Hollywood. But Volkswagen chief Heinrich Nordhoff was less than pleased with Romech's success. At first, the coach builder procured the VW chassis straight from the manufacturer, but later VW reserved that privilege for Romech's rival Cayman. Romech was obliged to cannibalize new, fully assembled Beetles. And those who know the VW Beetle will have no trouble handling a Romech Bisco, reckons Christoph. But everything looks more stylish and luxurious. Better interiors than this were hardly conceivable in those days. And even in terms of acceleration, speed, and road holding, it was far superior to the Beetle. That came from the low aerodynamic body and lightweight construction. The driver's seat feels extremely low, but that's only because of the high sides. You have to crane your neck to see the street. The countryside is quite spectacular around the Trentino region of northern Italy. Alongside the smart convertible version, Romech made a coupe that's now quite rare. The craftsmanship was of the finest, all done by hand. And the car weighed only 800 kilograms. All these hand-forged body sections are made of lightweight aluminum, attached to a fine metal frame, much like Carrozzeria Touring's legendary Superleggera construction. From the visual standpoint, designer Johannes Bisco went for a compact ponton body with a delicately curved beltline. Some people nicknamed the car the Banana, but Banana isn't right for such an elegant car. And that's why, for the first time in automotive history, they decided to badge the entire name back to the rear. Model Bisco in fine chrome.
Modell Bisco in feinstem Chrom.
Designer Johannes Bisco was not stingy with the chrome. The silvery lines highlight the extravagant yet purist design. The Bisco is actually a three-seater, with the rear seat mounted sideways behind the driver. The Romech Bisco was awarded the Golden Rose at the Geneva Motor Show 2 years running, 1954 and 1955. After that, it was advertised as the most beautiful and internationally acclaimed sports convertible. But the idea of it being a sports car shouldn't be taken too seriously. The generous engine compartment was occupied by a 1.1-liter VW Boxer with a paltry 25 horsepower. Although this particular model has Porsche power, a 1.5-liter, 60-horsepower engine from a 356. That's more like it, says Christoph. With the Porsche engine, the Bisco can reach 145 kilometers per hour, but just 105 with the Beetle unit. Even so, thanks to its lightweight construction and streamlined body, the Bisco leaves a VW Bug of the same period for dust. The Bisco was for individualists with deep pockets, says Christoph. It cost about twice as much as the VW Beetle at the time. There's a story that a German movie star wanted to buy the very first Bisco right at the motor show. But Friedrich Romech didn't yet have a list price and glanced over at the Porsche stand where the new 356 had been unveiled. It had a price tag of 10,000 Deutschmarks, so Bisco said 9,800, and the actor paid up. With the success of the luxury Beetle derivative, Volkswagen quickly made plans for a sports car of its own based on the Beetle, and commissioned coach builder Karmann to build it. Starting in 1956, the head of Karmann's technical development team was none other than Johannes Bisco. Christoph observes that when VW rolled out the Cayman Ghia in 1955, sales of the Bisco slumped. That was to be expected since the Ghia was 1,500 Deutschmarks cheaper and bore VW's seal of quality. And so, after 7 years in production, yielding 280 handmade special models, it was the end of the road for the Bisco. But it remains the first sporty luxury car on the VW Beetle platform, and a clear milestone in automotive history. The Bisco was a design pioneer. Mercedes copied the eyebrows over the wheel wells on its legendary 1955 300 SL. And decades later, in 1998, Audi's TT recalled the style of the nearly 50 years older Omech.